When I say that I want the same thing for my brothers as I want for myself, what I'm not saying is I want to see my brothers, obtain a certain level of financial freedom. What I'm not saying is I want to see my brothers getting the biggest houses and fastest cars and finest women. What I'm saying is when I say that is I want my brothers to have that connection with source that very few people will have. I'm saying I want my brothers to be in that mindset of wanting nothing on this planet but having access to all of it. That's a very fine line, man. You're talking about a very small, percentage of people that will experience that. And I'm telling you, brothers, it's hard to explain what that feels like unless you're a person that has felt it, you know? But when you think about that feeling, you have to ask yourself, what's keeping the majority of people from feeling that frequency? And brothers, when I thought about it, man, I said, you know what? The largest source of disconnection has to be religion. And I know you're saying, so that don't make sense, man. How are you going to say that the institutions that are, supposed to keep us closer to the all, how are you saying that these are the barriers of man having that true connection, brothers? I'm gonna tell you, man, I've dabbled in a number of religions, and I'm not saying religion is bad. It's just the religion has to be looked at as a practice to keep man on course if he's going to participate in that, right? I've spent hands down the majority of my life, close to the majority of my life as a Christian. And I would be lying if I said, man, that Christianity didn't keep me out of prison, didn't keep me off the streets, didn't put me around a better circle of people, didn't help guide me in a world without certain people still being in my life, right? Man, there were so many benefits that I learned from Christianity, but at some point, man, it became capped off. I can remember the first time I heard TD Jakes speak, man. I was a teenager. I'd attended like a Promise Keepers convention in Dallas, man, several years ago. And just hearing these authoritative figures in the religion, man, speak and give guidance, brother, changed my life. Changed my life, man. But I found that later in life, man, when I got in my 20s, still having this Christian relationship and fully submerged in this lifestyle, but I was still lacking something. You know, I still have this void that needed to be filled, man. You gotta understand, man, when we look around this world and we see people with addictions, that's all that's really taking place, man. You have a mass amount of people that have a void that need to be filled. When you see people leaning toward the bottle, when you see people leaning toward drugs and sexualization and you name it, because they're all the same in the grand scheme of things. They're all the same. When you see people having these addictions, man, what's really taking place is that that void just needs to be filled with something, because that connection is not there. And I'm telling you, brothers, it is my belief that religions are keeping people from there, from that connection. I know more Christians that are alcoholics than anything, man. I'm telling you, man, that void has to be filled, and people just aren't understanding what's really taking place, brothers. You know, even Islam, man. I spent a number of years in Islam, man, and even now I'll still attend Jummah maybe once, maybe twice a year, brother. It's a beautiful religion. After coming out of Christianity, going to Islam, man, it was almost like it almost like added extra chapters to the Bible to me. You know what I'm saying? It almost made me more of a full person or fulfilled, just better understanding, man. Beautiful religion, brothers. I can remember one time I was in Cairo. I was in Egypt, man. I was at the top floor of the hotel, man. It's about 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, man. I'm in full dress, man. And this me and a handful of brothers up there playing pool, 2 or 3 in the morning, man. And the call to prayer comes on. I'm not sure exactly what time it comes on, but it's 0 dark 30, man. And we all just stopped, man, and gave reference, man, and prostrated and bowed, to the creator. From the balcony, you can look out in the streets, man, and the one or two brothers that were still out in the streets, at that time of morning would just stop and just prostrate, man. It's a beautiful thing, man. When you talk about brothers fellowshipping, I've never felt more of fellowshipping with my brothers than the time I spent in Islam. Going to Juma, man, seeing how sisters dressed and conducted themselves in religious ceremonies, man, it was a beautiful thing, brother. But at some point in time, again, I still felt capped. I still felt capped off, like man, like there's more, there's something else I need to tap into. And what I understood, brothers, is that what we're trying to do with religions is simply take the whole universe and cram it in a box. We're simply trying to take the moon, the stars, the whole universe, the galaxy, and say, you know what? I got God figured out. And let me put it in this box. And whatever it goes on in this box, like, this is the truth. You have to understand, man, that something so vast as everything can't be contained. If you're even making an attempt to put a box or a label around the all or everything, brother, that should be a red flag. Like, man, like something is not right, man. You know what I'm saying? And the thing is, I just think that, people feel comfortable. I think that religion makes people feel comfortable. It's kind of like having just rules, regulations, and guidelines. It's like, you know what? There's a little structure, and I can see the walls of the building, and this is a safe place for me. But I'm telling you, brother, to have that full connection, to be fully plugged in, brother, you have to drop all walls. You have to drop all walls of religion, man. And I'm gonna tell you this, because I asked myself, I said, well, what makes a person, fear that? Well, what makes a person, scared to just lift the lid off the box and say, what else is out there? What else is there for me to know? And it comes down to the same thing, brother. This whole concept of heaven and hell and burning in the fire and da da da. I'm gonna tell you this, and I'm gonna free you from a lot of stress in life, brother. The hell that your ministers are teaching you about, they don't exist, man. They don't exist. And I'm gonna tell you this: I couldn't always make that statement. I couldn't always make that statement until I felt, until I actually plugged into source. Once you plug into energy, brother, you actually feel what love is. You know what I'm saying? And once you submerge yourself in that love energy, there's no hell that could possibly exist in this energy, man. So to even preach hell or to preach fire and brimstone is actually putting you in a whole nother, section of prison, man. A whole nother section of the prison you're already in. There is no heaven or hell in that aspect, right? So just releasing that alone, man, should give you the courage to say, you know what? Let me let the windows up of this box I'm in. Let me open the doors. Let me let the roof open up a little bit and see what else is out there. And I'm gonna tell you, man, once you start submerging yourself in that energy of no walls, of limitedness, a whole different life you're gonna start living, man. A whole different life you're gonna start living. And like I say, man, I want the same thing for my brothers as I want for myself. And when I'm telling people to tap into that's all I'm wanting, brother, because I'm telling you, there is no greater feeling on the planet than that. When I think about like the Nelson Mandelas, just for an example, a man that can be on his purpose and have a mission and be doing certain things in life and be persecuted for what he stands on and can go and spend several years, the majority of his life, I believe, or a huge percentage of his life in prison, and can come out and still vibrate high and move as if nothing happened. Brother, you have to be plugged into something. You have to be plugged into something deeper than what's being preached from the pulpits or what's being preached in the front of the masjid. I remember watching the movie Hurricane. I think it's Denzel and Hurricane, man. And it got to the point where This brother went from being a drug addict in prison trying to make it to finding that place I'm talking about. To the point where they were like, hey man, you want to come out of your cell for a break? And he was like, there's no need. Like I'm experiencing a completely different feeling. So whether I'm in a cell or whether I'm in a Beverly Hills mansion, it's no different. I found that place, brother. I'm telling you, that's the powerful place. And the thing is, man, I want more than anything. I want for everybody to experience that. I want for everybody to experience that. And the thing is, I strongly feel that religion is one of the primary sources of blocking people from that. Not only is it keeping people in a box, another thing it's doing is separating you from your brothers and sisters. Anything, and we can look at politics, we can look at, anything that separates you from the next man. Skin color, anything that you let govern you that separates you from another human being, brother, it's robbing you of this thing I'm talking about. And I'm gonna tell you this: a lot of people can't get past that part. Like when I say skin color, a lot of people can't get past that. I believe that's one of the hardest barriers to cross, man. Because there's a thin line between loving your people, your kind, your culture. There's a thin line between being in that energy and wanting yourself to exceed or wanting another race or culture of people to be downgraded. You know what I'm saying? Man, I'm telling you, we have to eliminate all sources that disconnect you from mankind. Because and the reason I say that is this: you can't be in that space that I'm talking about if you haven't done that. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't be against your brother because he's a Democrat or a Republican, or because he's a Christian or a Muslim, or because he likes the Cowboys and you like the Raiders. You know what I'm saying? You can't look down at your brother and feel some kind of way and be in this energy I'm talking about. So all I'm saying is, man, identify the things that are blocking you from connecting to the source. Because like I'm saying, brother, there's no greater feeling than that, man.